Forgot to add myself to the stream. So long since I've done a solo with you guys on a press conference. I forgot to add myself to the stream. Disgrace, cheat. Owen will be hanging his head in shame. I'm so used to doing these in groups and adding people in. Forgot to add myself to the stream. But we are here. Let me know. Computer's a bit jittery, but I am here, I promise. Big up to you guys. Big up to the chat. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Welcome to the press conference reaction. Not with Owen, but with myself as Brandon G. As Brandon Glory Man United says, fleck, fleck, fleck. And Ulum, smart ass, says, Owen looks so good these days. He's changed. He's been on the sunbed. He's done what he needs to do. Hansen says, afternoon fleck as well. Big up Lux Hill, one of our longest members as well, says, what's good, broski? Ten Hag has had his press conference reaction. And do you know what? I had his press conference. We're going to do the reaction. Didn't say a lot in the first batch, but he did say some really interesting things. I liked what he said. He spoke a little bit about why we lost against Newcastle. We spoke about duels and how many we lost. Big up Statman Cam on that, by the way. If you haven't seen the tactical view, make sure you guys go check it out. He called it first. He said it. I'm going to get into exactly what Erik Ten Hag said. But if you haven't seen the tactical view after this, make sure you check it out, because Cam, when he broke it down yesterday, literally went through exactly the same stats that Ten Hag used to depict why we were so crap against Newcastle on Sunday, which is very interesting. So big up Cam. We have been disagreeing on a lot of things recently, but as always, Cam is top dollar when it comes to dissecting things and the way he breaks things down and the stats that he gets. So big up to him. He spoke about Luke Shaw, about his new deal, what that meant. He said that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is back in training today. And the big one, Christian Eriksen is not ready yet. That is the big one. He's not ready yet. But he has returned to team training today. There was nothing on Martial in this first part of the presser in terms of is he going to start tomorrow? How's he feeling, etc., etc. I was quite surprised nobody asked him sooner, but I think they went to the players who actively are not in the squad right now, which is Wan-Bissaka and Eriksen. Probably in the second half, when we get that later on, the embargoed part, I'm assuming we'll get a little bit more on Martial. I just wanted someone to ask him, is he in line to start? How was he after the game, even though he played half an hour? Just something. But like Lux Hill says there, Eriksen could be available for the Sevilla game. I mean, if he's training from now, I don't see why he can't do team training for the rest of this week. And like you said, Lux Hill, next week, miss the Everton game as well. And then get back into his focus as well, ready for the Seville game, which will be a massive added bonus. But let's get into what he did say in true Owen fashion. He started off with Luke Shaw. We know that Luke Shaw signed a new deal, a new 4-year deal, without the option of +1, actually. Some journalists sort of saying interesting, because usually with the -30s or the over 30s, sorry, so the -30s, there is a +1 option. And there isn't that with Luke Shaw, which is interesting. But this is what Ten Hag had to say on Luke Shaw's new contract. He said, I think it's good. It's a good message. An England international. He is doing really well this season. He is a modern left fullback, but can also play other positions. He matches the standards we want to have. Let me know in the comments how you guys are feeling, actually, about Luke Shaw's new deal. Actually getting a chance to speak about it properly, because I kind of did it on Twitter. But I don't think it's a bad thing. It is interesting that we have made up our mind that, Luke Shaw is going to be the guy. But I think he's done really well for Erik Ten Hag. Yes, of course, the team in general has dropped off the last few games, the last couple of months, should I say, last month or so, maybe. Of course, Luke Shaw has dropped off a little bit as well, but I think there's enough evidence there to say, that we're going in the right direction with him. I don't mind that. And Malacia, I think if we didn't have Malacia and we just gave Luke Shaw that deal, I would probably be a little bit more concerned, because obviously we need to have that competition. I think Malacia is going to keep developing into a decent or good fullback, should I say. 4 years, I think Austin Baker says, I wish it was shorter, but I do like it. I mean, it's a hard one, isn't it, really, Austin? Because, yeah, if you give Luke Shaw a 2-year deal, it probably doesn't fill him with, obviously the player needs the security. The player and his agent, his representatives, are going to look for the security as well. They're not going to sign it if it's only 2 years, or if it's 2 years and we'll see what happens. At this stage of Luke Shaw's career, he wants that security. He's nearly been at Man United 10 years. And you forget, how young we actually got Luke Shaw. He's only 27. Like, he's literally in his prime now. So we've given him a contract into his prime. So, 27, in 3 years, he's going to be 30. When's his birthday? His birthday On 12th of July. So on the 12th of July, he'll be is his birthday. So basically, so in July he'll be 28. And you know what? We're getting a player who's actually in his prime. That's a bad deal, says Raminesh. Ninth Earth says, I don't mind with the new contract, but I don't like a 4-year length. Lil Yo-Yo says 4 years, 4 years solid. I'm not too fussed, to be honest. Yeah, I think, and I think what we have to remember is deals are deals. I think it's safe to say that Luke Shaw, no flex judge here, but Luke Shaw's not in the camp of the players that will be so shocking, and he's stuck on a deal that we can't get rid of. We can't get rid of him or anything like that. You also need to retain a little bit of value. So if after a couple of years, and I'm not saying this will happen, but if after a couple of years we wanted to switch it up a little bit, Luke Shaw would still have 2 years left on his deal. So then he still holds a little bit of weight as well. So yeah, like Lux Hill says, we signed Luke Shaw when he was 18. Bro has been here. Exactly. He's nearly a decade at the club. He's been at the club 8 years or 9 years. And it's insane how long he's been here. And it's gone so quick as well. You know, you don't realize players like that have been around so long. Have we seen the best of Luke Shaw? I think the only thing with Luke is that we've always said we're waiting for him to arrive. We're always waiting for him to to get to that optimal level. And I think what we have seen is we've seen him get to an optimal level, but the sustainability of the optimum level has sometimes been questionable. But I think by the most part of this season, it wasn't too long ago we were saying, look, he can play left centre back. Wow, pocketed Haaland, playing left back, in big games for us and doing really, really well. So look, I get that. I'm comfortable with Luke Shaw getting a new deal personally. Kristen says he's been a loyal servant, always got his head down and worked. And Austin Baker says, I agree with what you said. I'd rather do the 3+1 rather than the full 3 years. Yeah, exactly. Maybe you could say to him, you have to earn that 4th year, Austin. I hear what you're saying on that. But it's interesting that Ten Hag also says he gives us, what's the exact quote? He says he matches the standards we want to have. You know what I mean? He matches the standards we want to have. And I think he's shown ultimate trust in Luke Shaw, even playing him at left centre back to prove that adaptability. I think when Luke Shaw's at his best, he's really solid defensively. He's got a good engine. He's good in the tackle. He's good in one-on-ones. Don't get me wrong. Recently, both our fullbacks have been getting cooked because I think structurally the team hasn't been there. If I look at against Arsenal when he was up against Saka, he got absolutely had a torrid time because he wasn't getting the protection. And Saka's just flipping good. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, I think sometimes we put too much emphasis on because you're a defender, you must shut out the opposite winger every single game or you're not good enough. No, sometimes the opposite number is just so flipping good. And in that case, in that day against Arsenal, that was the case. He was just really good. But yeah, I don't mind it. I just hope that I think with all these new contracts that are incoming potentially, I think that Dallow's going to get a new contract. You'd imagine Rashford's going to get a new contract. Imagine, and because I don't want to say it out loud because a lot of people are going to get triggered. But obviously, De Gea is probably going to get a new deal as well. And I think that the worry about all new contracts, especially when it's leading up to big players on big wages, obviously Luke Shaw would have signed an improved deal. We didn't see, what sort of money he's going to be on with this. But I think what we do need to say is that there is that what happens after the deal. When you sign the big bucks deal, when you sign the mega bucks deal, what is it like afterwards, And hopefully with Luke Shaw, we don't see a dip or a decline in what has been actually a fairly consistent season for him. So yeah, it's all going off, like the Hale voice, exactly. It's all going off. Let's move on. What else did Ten Hag say? He moved on to Christian Eriksen, and this is the bit where he said he's not ready yet. So still a big miss for us. We know we've been without him for ages, but I want to go more on the positive side of this. Is that he's imminently, looking to be back. Do you know what I mean? He's back to team training today, which is a massive plus. He's back on the grass. He's back with the team. So you give him the rest of this week. What is it? Tuesday today. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, train again Saturday. No, probably not actually light session or recovery, but the next 3 days of training anyway. I think he'll still probably miss that Everton game. Maybe on the bench. Could he come on? I think that'll probably be a bit too much. I think you give him the rest of this week just training is what I would do after a long injury out. And then when you look into next week on Thursday at home to Sevilla, hopefully again he can be named on the bench for that. for that game to get him back in. And obviously we'll have Casemiro back for that game as well. So that'll be really interesting. But here's what Ten Hag said on Christian Eriksen's return. He said, not tomorrow. He is returning on the pitch. He is training to the team. He is returning to the team training today. So we have to see how quick he can make the progress. So look, what we will say as well is that, to be fair to Christian Eriksen, he's come back a lot quicker than we thought after such a long injury, such a significant injury. I mean, this happened in January, didn't it, when Andy Carroll did that? Because then we had to go and get Sabitzer straight away. So yeah, I think it happened in January. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it shows that he's already, the prognosis was already quicker than we thought, which is a big plus. That's definitely a big plus, that the prognosis was quicker than we thought. But that's not to say that just because it's quick getting to this point, that it's going to be quick. Now he's training with the team. He's still got to prove his fitness, and he still needs to be sharp, because one thing we do know is the games that we're playing in are really intense. Every game is difficult. There's no easy games. We can't afford to have him not up to sharpness. You know, it's going to take him a while to get back. He just needs to get some minutes. Garsha says 30 minutes against Everton. Yeah, why not? If look, we know that if Ten Hag thinks he's ready, he'll play. He'll play. So I agree with you, Garsha. That would be amazing if he could be on the bench for Everton, get some minutes, get some minutes off the bench, little 20 minutes or half an hour, like you say, and then hopefully start against Sevilla. But I think that might be too soon. But you never know. Tuesday, full day of training. Wednesday, full day of training for him, because he won't be involved tomorrow. Oh, sorry, there's a game tomorrow, so no training. In on Thursday, full day of training. In on Friday, full day of training. And then he'll rest on Saturday, and then you never know. So 3 full days of training for him. What's that? Today, Thursday, and Friday. We'll see. We'll see. See, all depends. Lil Yo says that thoughts flex. Could Eriksen and Sabitzer work as a double pivot? You mean in the absence of Casemiro, obviously? Maybe. I think Sabitzer's a weird one, because we don't really know what his best position is in our midfield yet. Do you know what I'm saying? He's playing him deeper. He's playing him as a 6. Yes, he gets forward. He's got a good strike on him. Would he be better playing further up? We don't know. We don't really know the answer to those questions. Technically, as in on the ball, yes, but I do worry about getting about the pitch, because if you've got Sabitzer, Eriksen, and Bruno, for me that balance is off. So I think you still need someone like a Fred in there. Not really McTominay after how he's been playing, but someone who can get about the pitch to win tackles, which you can't even say that's definitely McTominay. But yeah, he was also asked about the absences on Casemiro and Eriksen grouped together. He says, Erik Ten Hag, he says 2 quality players, the midfield department, games will always be decided in midfield. When you miss 2 quality players, it's clear, but you have a squad. If you don't have them, you still have to win. Erik Ten Hag always does that. He makes sure that if he gets, like when Casemiro got the red card, he was like, oh, how are you going to be without him? He's like, listen, we've got other players. We've won without Casemiro before. Even though we all know when he doesn't play, we pretty much lose most of the games. But you have to big up your other players. You can't be in press conferences, you know, waxing lyrical about men who aren't even there, who aren't fit, who aren't playing. And then, you know, at the detriment of the players who you're going to have to rely on in them games. It just don't go down well. So I understand that. That's not a problem. But yeah, we know they're a big miss. We know they're a huge miss for us, and we need them back ASAP. Like I said in my preview this morning against Brentford, it's so key that we get them back, because I was saying Martial could be the one who can, you know, get us over the line, but also coupled with Eriksen coming back to the fold, we should just be able to scrape over that line for top 4, because I think it's going to be a top 4 scrap. I don't think we're going to be able to go on a run, but we must get 6 points in the next 2 games. So that's the latest on Christian Eriksen. If you're just joining us, he's not ready yet. He has returned to full team training. He's returning to the pitch. He's returning to team training today, so we have to see how quick he can make the progress. Smash a like on the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you lot are new. Something a bit different for you. Me doing a press conference solo, just me and you guys. Don't get the chance to be just with you guys. So yeah, big up to you lot for tuning in. This part of the presser I thought was the most interesting, actually, because it's good to hear about Christian Eriksen, good to hear about Luke Shaw. But here's the bit where I want to give Cam his flowers and actually and talk about this. Newcastle defeat. This was what Ten Hag had to say. He said, we had a very bad performance versus Newcastle because the opponent wanted it more. They were sharper. You can see that in the challenge. We won only 16 from 61 challenges in offense. And in defense, the opponent beat us 48 from 78 challenges. And then he went, with that, you can't win a game. And you know what? Big up to Cam, because Cam said in the tactical view yesterday, he had it. He had the offensive duels one. He said the offensive duels for Newcastle was 31 out of 79. Offensive duels for Man United, 16 out of 61. You know, they had 39% duels won of offensive duels. We had 26. And defensive duels, they won 74% of their duels, 45 out of 61. And we only won 48 out of 79, and we had a 61% win rate of duels. So Cam literally spoke about it yesterday. And for Erik ten Hag to bring that to the forefront, he was so pissed off about that loss, like we all was, because again, it didn't come down to individual quality. It came down to the thing that it seems to keep coming down to in these big games away from home: fortitude, mentality, desire, commitment. Do you know what I'm saying? Intensity. It came down to all of them things. It came down to the unforgivable things. You know, if someone scores a screamer like Michael Keane did yesterday, you know, you hold your hands up and say, oh, bloody hell. If there was an unlucky penalty, or the game was close and, you know, we lost by a fine margin, cool. We lost by a set piece, cool. But when you start to question the commitment throughout the game and just us not winning duels and having percentages like that, it's poor. It really is poor. And Erik ten Hag's right. And I'm glad he brought it to the forefront. That means that he's telling those players, listen, well, we knew. Luke Shaw said it afterwards. You know, Diogo Dalot said it afterwards. And Erik ten Hag said it afterwards. We know what it is, and we know why we lost that game. But it's good to see him bringing it to the forefront and saying the reason why we lost the game. He's not happy about it. Also about the recent form, they asked him, is it a concern that we haven't won since the Carabao Cup, etc., etc.? And here's what he had to say on our recent form. He says, we played 60 minutes against Southampton with 10 men. So he's saying, look, that was a bit of an anomaly. That was a tough game because we went down to 10 men. So that can't really count that one, even though we weren't great until Casemiro got sent off. However, you could argue we probably would have went on to win. We beat Fulham, who are a Premier League team, he said, tough opponent. And we beat Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. We've proved we can beat Premier League teams, etc., etc. So no concerns. I think Ten Hag's being a bit clever there to just take the heat away from the team, because factually he is right. Okay, down to 10 men for 60 minutes against Southampton. So that's tough. Yes, we did beat Fulham, but we all saw the performance. We all saw the first 30 minutes against Southampton, which wasn't good. So I get why in public he has to say no concern. I think it would be worrying for him to say, oh, it's a concern. You know, oh, we don't know why we're not winning. You know, I don't want to hear that from Ten Hag. I want to see him defend the team and just put it right on the training pitch, which I'm sure will happen. But I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, are you worried in this moment? Brandon Smithy says, hopefully by next week, we have Casemiro and Eriksen back, and you're starting to worry, Flex, about the Glazers staying. I'm getting worried now. Slightly off topic there, but I don't know. I saw the stuff about the potential UK government having pushback against the Qataris, etc., etc. I don't know, man. When I saw the Saudi Arabia situation at Newcastle, they managed to overcome so much pushback. You know, at the end of the day, money talks, and I think there was private concerns. We'll have to wait and see. But 100%, I'm worried that the Glazers might stay, to answer your question, Brandon, for sure. We will turn it around, says Brandon. And Egan says, Luke Shaw has improved massively, but I still don't trust him. He's had so many false downs that it will take consistency until maybe Christmas next year before I can fully trust him. So, yeah, needing a bigger sample size there. But, yeah, back to what Erik ten Hag was saying. I think he was trying to find a balance of not criticizing the team in public by saying, well, we beat Fulham, even though the performance was crap. We beat Southampton. Sorry, we drew against Southampton, but we had 10 men, and we did beat Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, so no concerns. And I get why he's saying that. He was then asked a question about Graham Potter's sacking. He said, you never get time. You have to get results. Top football is about results. That's the game. You have to work on your process and find a balance. When I was on DR Sports yesterday talking about Graham Potter, I said the same thing. I said, you know, because I think Robbie asked me a question of why Ten Hag isn't getting criticised for big losses that we've had where we've been embarrassed this season. Because there's been the balance that Erik ten Hag's talking about. It's not lose, and we're not sitting in 12th. we're sitting, you know, okay, at the moment in 5th, but technically 3rd, whatever you want to call it, up until the other day. And we've won a cup. So, and there's been clear progress made. When you look at Chelsea, there hasn't been clear progress made. They've spent £600 million and continue to drop down the table, and they're not even going to get into Europe. They've been absolutely shocking. They spent nearly £1 billion, and they're 11th/12th in the table, wherever they are. I don't even know. They even got 40 points yet. Not even mathematically safe. Do you know what I mean? So, like Erik ten Hag says, you don't get the time in football. It is about results. Results buy you the time you need for your process. It's as simple as that. Mikel Arteta, same thing. He finished 8th, didn't he? Then 5th or something like that. But he won an FA Cup. He showed a little bit. So look, we have to do the same with Erik ten Hag and continue to show little bits of buy-ins, little bits of progress. And that's what we're doing. But they asked him about that. Then it was about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, another player that has returned as well. He is back after his illness. So interesting to see who starts tomorrow. Ten Hag said this about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Excuse me. He said, I think it is really close competition between them, him and Diogo Dalot. Maybe Aaron gives you a little bit more defending and Diogo gives you a little bit more offensive. But I have to say, they have both made progress in both areas. It is really close. You look at the load, the opponent to manage that. Basically, he's saying, I have to pick them game by game. I have to pick them game by game because, you know, they're like this. They're very close. And it is quite weird to hear Ten Hag say exactly what we think as fans. And I think I can speak for all of us here, which is that Wan-Bissaka is better defensively, and obviously Diogo Dalot gives you more offensively. But he also was quick to, again, you have to back your players, because that means if he doesn't say this next bit, which is saying that they've both improved in the other areas, i.e. Diogo Dalot's improved in defending and Wan-Bissaka's improved in attacking. If you don't say that, then you're just sending a message to each one of them saying that I think you're rubbish at one, so I'm only going to pick you when we need more defensive or we need more attacking. But I think look, for me, I think Wan-Bissaka is just ahead of him right now. But again, where the team wants to be, where the team wants to end up, I think you're looking at someone, you know, like Diogo Dalot, who's better on the ball. But listen, when it comes to the duels, when it comes to locking down, you know, wingers, like look how nervy we were and look how uneasy we were with St. Maximin just running at Dalot consistently. And he did okay, but it wasn't his best performance, was it, guys? He looked a bit shaky. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is better. No need for an argument. Dalot is the most overrated player in the United squad, says Deck. Agree, highly overrated. So not a lot of love for Dalot there. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Sachiv says Aaron Wan-Bissaka must start, and Martial really needs to start as well. And Erik ten Hag, James Bond says Erik ten Hag grabbing for straws. Clutching at straws for that Fulham statement. Exactly. We all saw it, but again, we know what he's doing. He's backing his team in public. But yeah, on the Wan-Bissaka situation, he said that he is back in training and after his illness, so we'll have to see how he is as well. But he's saying that they're neck and neck, and we know that. So yeah, it was a pretty short press conference. Wasn't much going on. The key bits to talk about is that Eriksen is not ready. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but Eriksen is not ready, but has returned to full team training, which is a massive, massive plus. That means it's surely only about a week away from actually being able to play, if not sooner. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's back after illness as well, which is definitely a positive. Obviously, nothing on Garnacho. We know that's long term. And thirdly, we don't know yet because of the embargoed part. We'll see what happens next tonight. No one asked about Martial in the first half, just to check that he bloody wasn't injured after only playing half an hour, which I don't think is the case. I think he's fine. I think he'll be fine. So that's what we know. So yeah, that is your press conference reaction. Thanks for tuning in, peeps. There's going to be a Flexing KG show later on today, 6 p.m. Hopefully KG shows up. Hopefully there's no controversy with where he's at. You know what it's like. You never know with KG. But Flexing KG show today at 6 p.m. Thanks for tuning in. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I'm out of here, guys. Take care. Peace.